Welcome back to another product showcase. Today we're going to be looking at our mid-mount frame kit, which is a variation of the Light Switch V2 and honestly was the key inspiration behind the arm locking mechanism and the overall design, was because we needed a frame that was stiff enough to fly well without a top plate, because this mid-mount design utilizes a pod that kind of starts in the bottom and slings up to hold the camera and allow the battery to snap on top and be right in line with the props for a perfect center of gravity. And that's where the mid-mount came from. So the body itself and the arm locking mechanism is very similar to the Light Switch V2. However, there's mounting the pod, there's the camera mounting, there's the battery locking mechanism, there's all these other things that are additional, and I wanted to just do a separate video for you. If you're probably in the description of the products right now, I want to give you an inside look of what the mid-mount is like. So let's hop inside, build it up, and get you an idea of what shows up on your doorstep when you order a mid-mount frame kit.
This is the end product we're going for. This was Emma's drone at I.O. if any of you guys were there. I think it looks really cool. Those orange MCK props, the orange tape, orange nylon print. I guess that's an idea of what it'll look like in the end, how it replaces the top plate a little bit, and how you'll also kind of build the stack upside down. And then that this is our Dogcom 1380 pack. As you can see, it fits pretty much perfect. And then I'll show you how to mount these battery wrappers in the build video. But this is what we're going for. I think it looks really cool. We do have black canopies as well. And let's hop into the build to get to this point. In the package, you're going to get 5 arms, once again, just like the Light Switch V2, but they are not the same. As you can see, it says mid, or that's really what it translates to. It's mid-mount arm. They're a little bit longer to make room for the props not hitting the battery. So that will be a difference you'll see between Light Switch V2 and mid-mount. However, the locking mechanism is the same, so they, in theory, are interchangeable. But just something to note that for the mid-mount version, you need this arm to have enough battery clearance. As far as the body kit, it will also be different than the Light Switch V2, but only slightly. Instead of having a top plate, you have the pod, and it's also flipped upside down, so it's a little confusing. But we'll call this the battery plate, which is this odd-looking plate, and then the mid plate, which of course has the press nuts in it, and then our spine plate and hardware that make up the inner workings of the arm locking mechanism. Quick review of the hardware you'll expect to see is your pod screws, your nuts for your stack, your titanium stack screws, your 2 long standoffs. You'll have 4 short standoffs, and that's for different pod types, but for this one you're going to have 2 short standoffs and 2 long standoffs, but you get 2 extras in this case. Compression screws, and your arm screws. First thing you're going to need, just like any and really all of our designs, is put in your stack screws. I said this in other build videos, but if you build this frame without stack screws and you get mad, you cannot say I didn't tell you. So let's put in our stack screws. Your stack screws will be these titanium screws as seen here, silver with a countersunk hole, and they're going to go into your mid plate, which looks like so. They'll go into the bottom in these 4 screws. Of course, this frame is 20 by 20 mounting only, which will be these 4 holes, of course. Drop them in. It'll go completely flush so that the design works as intended, and then you drop your nylock nut on there. It's not going to be something you can kind of hand thread on, but the nylock will make sure that it doesn't get loose over time. Just grab a nut driver maybe like this, maybe a set of pliers, whatever you need. 2mm driver on the other side, and get to screwing. Now that we have our stack screws in, we're going to put our spine plates into the mid plate. That would be these 2 pieces right here. As I've said in the Light Switch V2 build video, you have 3 notches on the mid plate, and then on the battery plate, you'll see there are just 2 notches. So it can only go in one way, but you'll see this has 3 notches on one side, 2 on the other. Go ahead and drop your 3 notches in here. Should snap in pretty easily once you get it lined up. Beautiful. Really happy with these tolerances. Drop this in, nice little snap. And then it doesn't matter which way this plate goes on, but we'll just come on just like so. Line it up. Oh, did you hear that snap? I heard that snap. And then again, you'll have a really, really stiff mid plate that you'll notice pretty much from the very beginning, and we'll talk more through that and the benefits of specifically that in this frame because it was wildly important in the design for Armando. But next thing you're going to do is drop in the arms. As you'll see, the arms have a little notch that will guide into the vertical plates that run down through the body. Snap in like so. Grab your other one, and it will drop in like so. and then that will line up perfectly. No more hammering, no more filing. It's really nice how well everything fits together. I'm really happy with it, at least. And then you're just going to get your your bag that has these 4 long screws in it. You're going to do your arm screws, which will just drop in here, and again be perfectly flush, which is very important for the mid-mount version because the battery is going to be going right up top. Once you drop in these 2 screws here and here, you're just going to flip the quad over and do the exact same thing on the other side. Find that vertical plate, come on the other side, find that vertical plate, drop it in, get those last 2 screws, and then drop it in, drop it in on both sides before we mount this middle screw, which is the compression screw. To finish up the structural part of the frame, you're going to put in the 2 compression screws, which go here and here. Comes with a bag, these 2 steel countersunk screws that are like this medium length in between short and long. Just drop it in here and here, and that will really, really finish the stiffness that makes this frame so special. The mid-mount version of this frame is actually what pushed Armando so hard to make the body as stiff as it is. Typically an issue with frames that don't have top plates is they don't have the same flight performance because they don't have that extra plate up there just providing rigidity. So Armando used these vertical plates down the body, and it really gave the frame an insane amount of stiffness. It's hard to show you over video, but you see there's no top plate on here. You can feel it in your hand once you have one, but it's just so rigid, and that's in part to all the design that Armando did to make this frame special. Let's jump right into adding on the battery clasp system. So when you get this pod, you're gonna have these black TPU pieces, and if you look here, you'll see the battery is kind of held by all 4 corners. This was Armando's way of, you don't need a battery pad, and it's kind of, you need a guide to make sure you're centered up. So he's like, let's just do 4 corners that's around a battery that we use and recommend. And it goes all the way up to 1400 mAh tattoo battery. It fits perfectly. So he uses these little battery guards, and they print completely flat. So if you end up printing them, they're super easy. Here's one that goes on the back, and then here's the 2 front ones. And all they do is, I guess I'll show you the shape here. So I already hooked this one on here, but I'll show you how I hooked on the other one. You just get it shaped like this. Basically, you can think of this little arch right here to go over the arm. It's kind of hard to do on, or like with my arms reached around the camera like this, but basically you just pull it around that little notch. There it goes. Keep pushing and pulling. It's kind of one of those finagle things, but once it's on there, it stretches around just perfectly. Come on. Oh, there you go. Beautiful. And then once it's stretched around like so, then you're just going to, again, do some finagling, maybe get a set of pliers. That's probably what I should go get. I'll get some pliers really quick. And then you're just going to pull it around that other hook. But that's for the front, and then the back is going to be slightly different so that it can hold your XT60, and I'll show you that here in a second. Okay, this is absolutely the wrong tool to use, but if you know anything about the 533 shop as far as tools go, they just disappear. So I'm going to get these not pliers and be very delicate, and then, oops, just pull this around, keep pulling, and then it drops in just like so. And then you'll have your little guard that's hooked right on, and it's super nice to prevent the battery from sliding and getting in front of your camera. So now we're going to do the back, which is this longer piece, and I'll show you how to do that. For the back, you have this longer piece, and the reason is due to the way you mount the XT60, which I'll put a picture of up here. Super nice, because basically you'll just get your battery and plug in straight down, straight down back here to keep it out of the props. Instead of having to like twist it and all this crazy stuff, you just plug it in, but it holds your XT60 from the ESC. So you're gonna get it like this. You'll see there's a hinge on the inside, so it'll fold like this. So the hinge will go on the outside, the flat side, or the hinge will go on the inside, the flat side will go on the outside, and then you'll kind of start this hook method again. Just a little bit of finagling, but it should eventually go over. So get it on the first one, nice. Now just pull. There, beautiful. Already on the second one. Skip to the last one, and then we'll do the middle one there at the end. To get this last little hook on, grab those pliers. Again, wrong tool that I'm using, but grab those pliers, kind of stretch that last bit over, and then there you go, hooked. And you see how it creates this little pocket. Your power leads will go right in there, and it'll prevent them from getting in your props. Next, we're gonna talk standoffs. You have these short standoffs, gonna open. Those are gonna go in the front. So this would be the back because that's where your power leads are gonna go. The front will be up here. Just noticing that I technically did build this backwards. On the mid-mount version, it doesn't really matter at all, but this is technically supposed to be for strain relief. On the normal light switch V2, you put this in the back, but it really doesn't matter on the light switch V2 because you'll kind of have a little bit of strain relief just up here holding your XT60. But two up here away from this little pocket for your XT60, and then your two long ones go on the back like so. So you'll see you have your ones on the back, your short ones on the front. Then you get your pod, and it just kind of slides over like so. Now you're starting to see it, I'm sure. And then you'll just get your two or your four short button head screws, and those will just screw on just like a top plate. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll go ahead and drop them in. It is a little bit of a tight fit, so you'll have to get your 2 mil, which I will grab. Kind of thread these in to the nylon, if you will. Do all 4, and you should have a pretty much completely assembled mid-mount frame. All right, now your frame is fully assembled. You'll notice that you kind of will build the stack upside down. So, you know, it'll fly like this, but you'll have your ESC on the bottom, which will really be the top, and then you have your flight controller. And you do have plenty of other surface area to mount your receiver and VTX in and around this pod, which is really nice. And then your camera will be up here, right in the prop line, and just gives a really interesting flight feel, and one that a lot of people really like. Basically, the benefit to having your battery like this is, you know, your center of gravity is perfectly in the middle. It'll balance wherever you want it. You don't have like a normal drone where the battery's hanging off the bottom, which means every time you go into a turn, you basically have a big counterweight swinging it around, helping it over rotate. And that, you know, we really don't notice it until you fly something that does have a perfectly centered center of gravity. And that is the benefit you get from this. Will it be heavier? Yes, we'll put this on the scale here in a second. But the flight feel you'll get, honestly, the uniqueness of the drone is something that some people will buy it for alone. I came to really, really like it. Unfortunately, you know, it's a little too heavy to compete at the very, very top in comparison to like a 49er or any of our super light frames. But it's crazy durable. The flight characteristics are amazing. And I know Armando and a bunch of other pilots have made this like their go-to rig just because of how amazing it handles. And like I say, that if you're not at the very, very top, you can pretty much throw weight out the window. Like, it doesn't matter that much. And arguably, a heavier quad will be faster for most people. And then, if that's the case, now you can go up in weight and it's not going to make you slower. It may even make you faster. Then, might as well make the flight characteristics even better, which I think is the argument for something like this mid-mount frame. Is the flight characteristics are going to be awesome, and if the weight is not going to affect your performance because you can't take advantage of it anyways, then why not try something like this mid-mount? It'll look cool, flight characteristics are going to be great, and if you ever decide to switch to a bottom mount for whatever reason, you already have the whole assembly to swap it to a bottom mount quad. Super easy because the inner parts and the arms are all interchangeable with the light switch V2. So let's take this over to a scale right now, see how much it weighs. And 85.48 grams. So I believe the light switch, and that is with all the TPU, the canopy, etc. Yesterday when I weighed the light switch V2 that did not have the camera mount, this has the battery holder and the canopy, etc. So it is going to be heavier, like I said. However, the flight characteristics are awesome. You're looking at a build that's around 290 grams, I would say. Light switch V2 around the 270, 265 mark, and then, you know, you can go down from there as you get into the lighter builds. But yeah, we are really happy with it. I have just honestly been into just making things that are unique and cool recently, and it's been great that the light switch V2 has this option for those who want to try and find an edge.
in the competition by going and getting that better flight feel. So yeah, it's really cool. I'm happy that we can offer it, and if you are ever building a LightSwitch V2, this is how you'll do it. So thanks for watching, guys.